The documentary is all about the rise of HIV cases in the Philippines and its fastest growing rate, in which the cases increased at 203% in the past years. Philippines is seeing an alarming trend in the increase of HIV infections, up to 35 cases a day since 2019, and the vulnerable age group is 18 to 24 years old, which is way much younger than expected. And what made it more complicated is that the stigma and discrimination among persons with HIV is still so high in our country that resulted to shame and embarrassment to the part of the person who are living with HIV. According to Mara, the stigma comes from the labeling of an HIV positive person. She said that rather than saying person with HIV victim or carrier, it is better to say person living with HIV. It is also discussed in the documentary about the treatment of HIV, and if it becomes worse, it will turn to AIDS. Most patients who are undergoing a test has anxiety and fear to be misjudged by the people. The truth about the topics presented in the documentary are: first, the stigma and discrimination among HIV positive persons; second, the feeling of anxiety and fear of a person who have contracted HIV; third, the vulnerable age group becomes younger; fourth, the significance of sex education today; fifth is the situation of HIV testing. I can say that the 3 documentaries I've watched enlighten the main points and discuss the major issues about HIV or AIDS awareness. These information are very essential to know and to be discussed in public so that everyone will be educated. The reason why this topic is essential and important because there are lessons that we need to learn and there are things that we don't know and we need to understand so that we will be able to avoid getting or contracting this kind of infection. It just not gives awareness to everyone, but it also gives or initiate a good start for everyone to be not afraid if ever they contracted with the virus. The documentaries widen the knowledge of the viewers as it stated necessary information and facts about HIV, and it do really help in uplifting persons who are in fear of being misjudged by the society. It gives them assurance to those who are living with HIV that they will survive and there is a cure in HIV. It taught me as a viewer to be a responsible citizen of our country because no doubt HIV or AIDS is a way much more complicated issue in the society rather than in the field of health. The major issue here is the increasing rate of HIV in the Philippines. As it was said, there must be something wrong behind the increase of sexually transmitted infection in our country. There must be lapses in educating the people about this transmittable infection that we can get after sex. Though the virus can be detected 3 months after the intercourse happened, testing must always be considered. I feel like after watching the documentary, there must be an action to be done as a youth where I am included. There is always a responsibility comes after doing it. As an individual, I should take part on educating the youth about the consequences of doing sex. The documentaries are interesting to watch because it's engaging the viewers to grasp the sufficient knowledge that we need to know. It's also captivating because the documentaries are hunting our minds to think about the consequences that might happen to us if we are not careful doing our actions. I think if everybody will watch the documentary, they will be able to know how important it is to be educated, particularly about the sex education. The documentary is a good platform to spread the necessary information to the mass. It may be not an ordinary discussion for some because of the religious belief in our country, but it is also important to be open-minded. It is an eye-opener for everyone that HIV is an epidemic that we need to suppress along the way. The perspectives that might not be mentioned in the documentary is in-home test work, safe pregnancy is possible, and the rights of people living with HIV or AIDS, such as the children with HIV or AIDS are allowed to attend the school. No one can fired a job because they are